Hey people. Tiffany Trenda is a modern dancer turned new media fashion artist based out of LA. We met each other through my friend Anouk, another new media artist active in the fashion tech scene. I was curious how the conversation would go. We spoke on the phone about a week ago, and our conversation was really flowing. That totally continued through this episode. She spent her artistic career creating physical narrative through performances using handmade costumes and tech-infused clothing. She never shows her face, and she encourages the audience to interact with screens that are attached to her body. Her work is really unique and super compelling. We talk about performance art in the time of COVID, bridging the uncanny valley, how NFTs apply to physical new media art, and of course, the singularity. Check it out. I know you'll love this one. How's your prep going for your show?
Great. No, it's going really well. We Let me get that off of there. I somehow that did not have that happen. Okay. Yeah, it's going really great. Working out the original virtual space is almost done, and working on basically the interactions. That's what we're working on right now, and figuring out that tech part, which is the most difficult.
What do you mean
probably will take the most time. So the performance it's called Unseen, and it's a whole immersive experience, and you will step into, or the public steps into, a virtual space and begins to interact in real time with me.
Do they do that like with a browser or something? Or like, what do you mean? How do they step into a virtual space?
It's kind of similar to like Mozilla Hubs, like virtual. It's like social media, like virtual social media space. So you're sort of transported into a virtual environment through. It's kind of like a website. Like you go to a website, and then you'll step into the space, and one person at a time will be able to interact with me, and others can see the interaction, and using volumetric capture with a Connect, you'll engage with me in real time. So I look kind of almost as like a hologram, but also pretty realistic. There's some, like, it looks very also physical as well. So it's not like I am like truly just an avatar. That a lot of when you act in a virtual space that's on a social media platform, you see more of like an avatars, and they, but it's not as like real life feeling as much as doing something like this. So because you're using volumetric capture.
So you're literally capturing the motion of your body.
Yes.
That's being transported into this virtual world where people can interact. So they like talk at you, or they, yeah, like how do they?
They can talk. Yes, they can talk. They are. They can leave themselves completely anonymous, or they can, if they want to reveal, someone identity, but they are actually going to be avatars. They can choose through 3 different avatars that are custom made for the project. And they are able to talk to me. They're able to also, we're programming things into there that they can do different things that I can react to. I don't speak, so all of mine is through movement and gestures.
Oh, wow. Yeah, man, you got to have a bouncer at the door. Keep the trolls out. Seriously. Anonymous people. I mean, do you have to get tickets to go to the show at least?
No, it's actually going to be premiering at the LA Art Show July 29th, and opening night I'll be performing pretty much all night, and then on Saturday and Sunday of that weekend I'll also have a few performances going on. But I will be sending out a link to contacts, like if people want to go on my mailing list, I will be sending out a link that they can reserve a time beforehand. Like they get like first dibs on a time, probably like an opening night. But anybody actually can go on and interact with me. You don't have to be at the LA Art Show. So you can, from your computer, actually log in anywhere in the world and interact with me that night.
That's very cool. Yeah, I mean, part of me says that's the future of events, and part of me is like, man, I hope that's not the future of events. You know what I mean? things are finally starting to open up, and it's like I went to my first festival a couple weekends ago,
Yeah,
for
yeah.
the 4th of July, and it was like so good to be around people. It's like, wow, this is amazing. I forgot what this is like. Um, that's cool though. So how does this? So you come from a background in digital fashion, essentially, in combining new media arts with fashion tech. Is that right?
Yeah, I actually originally had a little bit of a dance background, and I primarily was doing fine arts. I mean, originally I was actually a painter.
Oh
And I
wow.
did video, and then I think when I went to my undergrad, at Art Center, I ended up doing like video, and then I was already doing performing. I was doing a lot of like performance stuff, and with dance, and I decided that it made sense to combine them. And then from there, it's like I was creating installation work with performance. And then, later on, I thought, instead of trying to do a project where I can do the same thing just within a garment with so probably in maybe the last 10 years, I've been more working with suits or garments, and putting technology into that, wearables, essentially.
Yeah, it's a really cool canvas. Like fashion design is a really cool area for new media arts, like the expression of new media arts. Anouk, right? That's actually how we met, I think, is she introduced us. And yeah, she's like a great example of that, where she's just like creating
She's
really
amazing.
ridiculous
Yeah.
things. Yeah. And it's like wearable things, but it's things that use new media technology, and like animatronics essentially, and some LED, and projection to like express herself, and it's super cool. And some of
Yeah.
the work
Yeah.
you've done is also, yeah, super compelling.
Yeah, she's one of my closest friends. Actually, she's amazing. She is inspiring, and also just uh, a woman for women too. Like, she's very approachable, but as a person, but she also is like a supporter of other women, and that's really amazing. Like, I love that about her. She's such a generous person, but is amazing creative, and it's so inspiring to be around her. And we met through a friend of ours, but we met on doing an exhibition together, doing a show together, and it's interesting because we think similar about the body and tech and wearables. But then what's interesting is she's always trying to create distance between her and the person, and I'm always trying to bring them closer. I'm always
Interesting.
trying to
What do you mean? Like create distance between the
the
tech and
person interacting and the person wearing the
oh,
garments.
interesting. So like stay back, keep at arm's length.
Yeah, yeah, we talk about that. It's interesting. So she's always thinking about this idea. Like, we talk about spatial relationships of like, there's a personal space, and then there's sort of like a public space, and there's all these different like lengths, and it also, I think it changes depending on culture and all sorts of things. But I've always been, as a performance artist, I've always been interested in creating intimate spaces. Like, how do
Mm.
I make it a very intimate engagement where I bring them closer using technology, and like seeing if like I can get some kind of deeper connection through the technology, or how does it also impair the connection, or how do we record that interface?
Yeah.
Um,
Well, looking at your art, it's very performance based. It's like, it looks like, I'm looking at ubiquitous states, for example, the installation that you did. It's very much like a performance piece, you know?
Yes, that was a really awesome collaboration with a friend of ours, Yannick Katainen. He's amazing. We worked together in creating the whole 3D printed garment, and then of course there's the embedded EKG sensors. So I would interact with a person by just putting my hand over their wrist, reading their heartbeat, and we try to match each other's heartbeat during the performance.
Oh, that's super cool. So is that what's displayed on the front of the suit, is like essentially
Yes.
the two readouts?
Yes. So you'll
That's
see
super
mine, and
cool.
then as soon as I touch their wrist, you'll see that person will see their own heartbeat.
Yeah.
And then they listen to my heartbeat and I'm listening to their heartbeat and we try to sync it. So it's kind of like based off of like how when we listen to different music, it'll change like our heartbeat. And they also say if you listen to somebody else's heartbeat, like your heart will try and like sync up like so. And it's interesting because I always thought, oh, you know, I'll match this person or I'll match, is it age or is it this or all of these things. But I never, it's weird. Like I even had a really good friend and it took us like 20 minutes to try to match each other's heartbeats. And we're like, this is weird. Why did that happen? And then
Right.
some people like, you know, it just would automatically happen. Like you don't know, you know?
I guess that's what chemistry is, right? The whole
Yeah.
element of it. That's really interesting. It's super cool, though. It's a super cool use of technology, and I like how it's really using technology to express something that's fundamentally human, you know. And yeah, I don't know. It's very cool. So that was in, what was that? That was 2015, right?
Yeah, it was like December 2015, and it premiered at Context Art Miami, and then it was also performed at the Broad in 2016 at Scottsdale Museum of Contemporary Art, and also Wearable Arts Awards in the Netherlands, and yeah,
That's cool. So toured all over the place.
yeah, it also was in. It was on the cover for Mexico City Laboratorio Alta Alameda, which is in Mexico City. It's an amazing museum. But yeah, it's they had a little tour, which is fantastic.
So essentially, that's like most of your work is touring exhibits. You would do mostly like yeah, like what's the venues that you typically show your work at?
Yeah, I try to a lot of museums, institutions, galleries, festivals, art fairs. But I also have performed for private events, even some corporate events, some tech corporate events. And yeah, I mean, I'm kind of open to events. I think I just wouldn't, you know, through certain contexts, maybe I wouldn't put it in, you know. It is important to think about like how people are going to read the work. So I would say like I have turned down shows where I think that if I put it in there, then it looks like uh, too, I don't know, maybe, yeah, it's all about like the context of your work, like where you put your work in. So,
Sure.
um,
Well, if that's the body of your work, really it's like if those are the instances where your work is displayed, you got to pick and choose. You know,
yeah,
for us,
yeah,
it's different because the work that we do is permanent. It's out there all the time for anybody walking by to see. You
yeah,
know, but I think
yeah.
that a performance piece is fundamentally different.
It's
I've actually never
ephemeral.
done I've never done a like a museum piece or something, or like I've never done like a not traditional, but a formal showing of our work. You know, we've had grand openings, but yeah, it's just different, you know, and I'm really fascinated by um, the differences that the art form create in the way that you present your art, how that affects the creation of the art and the expression of the art, you know. It's
That's
like,
definitely.
yeah, it's a fundamental part of what forms the creative process, is like how is it going to be received, or how is it going to be um, viewed, absorbed. I'm sure that doing something virtually is a lot different, right? It must be like
Yes.
a very different process than, because you're the person in these creations that you're making. I'm assuming I can't see any faces. None of your work has faces. It's all, you know, there's masks that cover your face in almost every one, but I'm assuming
Yes.
that's you. Yeah.
Yes, yeah. I there was only a few instances that like I had two pieces in Art Center Nobai in Korea, and I wasn't able to fly because I was actually I think it was 7 months pregnant by then or something.
Oh wow.
So um, but the curator was amazing, and she's like, let's just hire performers, and that's what we did. We just hired. But actually, I work with a performer here because we wanted to do again, like I was I was pregnant, so I had a friend of mine, Jasmine. She wore my suit and performed. So there's been a few instances I've had other people performing it. So, but primarily I like to do the performance. It's just if there's instances that I can't, then I'm open to having others. And also if like I have multiple performances going on, then of course I'll have other people inside the suits. But I think that's what's interesting also about the suits is like you can put another performer in it as well. But the main thing, like why I hide my face too through my performances, is because I think that people can put their own like they can imagine more. I feel like when you don't know exactly the profile of the person.
Well, it definitely makes it more
Remains
abstract, and it
anonymous.
makes it more of like it's like an art piece. It's the creation becomes the art that and the focus of the audience, and it's not necessarily the person inside it. It's like, yes, it's a human form performing, but it's really this art, weird, crazy creation, you know?
Nice. I like that.
Oh, it's cool. I mean, I've never been to a performance like that. I've been to a number of modern dance performances, but never one that with a focus on new media arts. I guess the closest I've come is like running around at Burning Man when everybody's decked out in like ridiculous costumes and LED. Like, okay, that's one thing, but this is very structured and formal, and there's a message behind it that's cohesive, and it's cool.
Thank you so much. Yeah. Um, and yeah, I think that's also like I always put screens. I'm always having this sort of relationship to screens, and I always put like screens on my body because I always talk about like how we reveal and conceal our body through screens, through our technology, and how our bodies become mediated in this process. So, and it's a lot about embodiment and disembodiment.
Right.
Through
Well, I
our
think it's never been
relationship.
more true than today. It's
Yeah.
screen is definitely a powerful symbol. Um, there's one installation that you did, body code. It's you've got QR codes in your like where your eyes would be in these goggles, and it's like this was definitely the year of the QR code. QR codes became a proxy for like everything. Anything you had to touch was like, oh nope, touch this, scan this barcode, and it's yeah. I think that now all of a sudden, I think that was what COVID was, the thing that made QR codes really come of age, where everybody was like, oh yeah, these are things that actually are kind of useful. Uh,
Yeah.
but
That's
it's another
true.
example of a physical object that, it kind of is AR, where you've got this physical thing that brings you back into the digital world, you know?
Yep. Yeah.
So
That's
what did those, what were those QR codes? What did they take you to on this body code installation?
it would take you to a website of Google searches of that particular body part and data. So your relationship, that body part's relationship to data, and like what. For example, like if you can scan my eyes, and if you scan my eyes, it would take you to like a Google search of eye and data. It's like what would come up. So
Oh, interesting.
and I'm actually, yeah, I performed that a lot. It's probably my more notable pieces that people have seen.
Yeah, well, it's super compelling. It says that was in 2012. You've been doing this for a while.
Actually, it's been now 20 years.
Wow. Yeah, before I was doing like permanent placemaking art, I was doing video art, and I was doing concert touring, and that transition happened in like 2011, 2012, where I was like, okay, I'm putting down the
Oh,
the
that's interesting.
DJing performance art thing, and I'm moving over to permanent placemaking art.
Oh, that's interesting. Yeah, because that's also like when I transformed my work from more installation and performance, even though I was already kind of creating wearables, but I was always like having these installation. And I thought, oh, I need to like make it more simple and more structured. And so, yeah, that happened the same year. It's interesting. I wonder if that's something about 2012.
Yeah, I mean, I think it was a transformative year. I mean, we're also like close to the same age. It's maybe it's that part of your life. I think
Too,
that
yeah.
you can break your life up into mini careers. Many people can anyway. I definitely can for myself. I've gone through many iterations. And it's funny, the especially during COVID, I was like, okay, it's time for a change. Like I need, I've been doing this. All of a sudden, the installations that we were doing, even though they were very different, they started to feel the same. You know what I mean? And I'm
Oh,
like, okay, I'm going to
yeah.
do another one of these. And it's like, I think when you start saying that, then you need to flip it around. You need to change it up. Yeah,
That's
last
very
year was a really good
interesting.
year. It was a good year, and it was a hard year. It
Yeah.
was also a really like transformative year.
That's true. I
First,
was just thinking, like, I feel like we've all been, well, we're stuck inside, so we're also like with our thoughts. But yeah, I think for me too, I agree. I started to think about um, what I can do differently, and I also feel like I was still doing the same thing in some ways, and I wanted to do something new. I wanted to kind of, it was really nice actually when I went to do my master's, and I actually just let go of doing performance for a little while and stepping away. And I was thinking about that. I was thinking of like, wow, it was a really good time for me to step away and look at it from a different perspective. And then that's when I ended up doing body code. And it's interesting, a similar thing was like stepping back and looking at my work. I was redoing my website. I was like, oh, I finally have time to redo my website. It's like, we never get time really. Oh. It's like I'm always like on a plane.
right.
So it was the time to like just reflect, I think. And I think for all of us as society, it was a time of reflection and to I don't know, it was it. And I realized that same thing for me. I was like, I feel like really want to do something different and to change it up and to, and also I think right now everything is going so much faster. Data, we've already had like so much data, but I think even more things are going so much faster with like um, art, creativity, tech. And now I think tech is even more, because I feel like with NFTs and other things that like tech is now getting more integrated into the art market, into the art world, even though it was there, it was sort of like a separated thing, like, oh, new media artists do this, painters do this, and everybody was doing their own thing. And then all of a sudden, I feel like in the last like year or two, things are getting more combined, and tech is starting to seep into more than just new media artists or installation artists or people who were interested in those things. It's now
Well, you
become
know
a
why
part of
that
our.
is because new media art is such a virtual. It's so based in the virtual. Do you know what I mean? Even physical new media art it's all programmatic. There's so much of a programmatic component to it, and I feel like we are living through this period where the virtual world is slowly merging and becoming like entwined with the physical world. And this goes back to the barcode thing, right? It's like COVID was like a catalyst where it was like, okay, you want to go to school? Well, get your ass on Zoom. You want to work? Well, you're doing all your meetings on Zoom. Everything
Yes.
became virtual, and it really forced that transition. But that transition's been happening for a while.
Wow.
Almost
Yeah.
Second Life. I had a friend.
2016, it was like such a birth of like new ways of thinking of social media platforms.
Yeah, well, I mean, yeah, Second Life was, it's kind of a kooky example of it. It's kind of quirky or whatever, but my friend was so into that back in like literally 2012. And she was like, this is the future. We're all going to be like, bots in this chat room. And I was just like, wow, I see it. I get it.
Yeah.
But
Yeah.
it's just the world was not there. And now all of a sudden it's like we've got VR that is coming to a place of maturity where you can go into a VR chat room and it's like, oh yeah, I'm hanging out with like weird cyber people in this virtual space. And I feel like technology coupled with our acceptance of the concept of the merge has reached a point where it's like becoming tangible. Just like climate change is now fully tangible, right? The merge of
Yeah.
like the virtual world and the real world has become tangible and obvious to the lay person, where you
Yes.
can't ignore it, you
No.
know. And it's an interesting time to be alive. It really is. I think that the most compelling installations in my mind are the ones that successfully blend that boundary. Like, why was projection mapping so compelling? It's
Yeah.
because you had this real, very real building, and then you had this virtual 3D world that was merging into something that your brain was tricking your brain into like not understanding where the boundary was. That was the magic. It was like tricking your brain into being like, where the fuck is the boundary between real and fake? I can't tell anymore.
Yeah. I mean, we're constantly shifting, and there's something I talk about in my work is like we're constantly shifting between the simulated and the real, which is like Baudrillard, statement. It's like, uh, where it's all about simulation. And my piece actually, I talk about how with these new immersive experiences, especially with the virtual, it's like when we put on a headset, we are transported into another world, but our physical body is still the same. It's still in, the space that we are in, quote, real life, but yet our eyes and our thoughts and our mind is somewhere else. So we're kind of like separated. We're disassociated from our body. And I talk about like disembodiment that way. Like we're not embodying exactly what we normally would be doing. We're sort of separated, and how does that like affect us? Like, are we? I don't know if we're even there yet to understand the effects of that, but I think in the
No,
future it's
I
going to
don't think we
be.
are. Like any technology, I think that like people just play catch up. Shit happens,
Yeah,
technology, science evolves, new things come to light, and we're still just like, we're very short-sighted animals. We are, we can think
it's
into the
true.
future when it comes to ourselves, really, but like we're not, our brains aren't really built that way. I mean, it seems like that to me anyway.
No, it takes us a while to understand what we're actually seeing. um
Yeah, yeah. And for those effects to take hold and shape society, it really is like the interplay between humans and technology, the technology that they create, and then that technology like shapes and creates society. But that's what new
That's
media art
true.
is all about, right? It's about like fucking with that technology to try and imagine ways that it could go and like using it as commentary.
Yeah, it's commentary on society, and society right now is, it's a really interesting time to be in. I mean, we have a pandemic, but it's not like a pandemic we've experienced as the human race has experienced. We've had pandemics before, but it was a completely different time. We didn't have the tech that we do today, so we're relying on our tech to keep moving forward. And for I was thinking about this in the pandemic. It's like, I'm so glad it did happen now, because we do have these tools to use right now. And if it would have happened maybe 20 years ago, it would have been a different story. It would probably been worse in some ways, because we didn't have those ways of communicating to one another, seeing one another, even though you're not really seeing that person.
Oh my
So
God. Can you imagine if the pandemic happened 20 years ago?
yeah, it would have been like more of a disaster than this today, right?
A lot more painful
Yeah.
for sure. It would definitely have been a lot more disruptive. I mean, that's the thing. The pandemic was only not disruptive to people with like fast internet and computers.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like anybody whose job did not rely on those two things definitely was maximally disrupted.
And there's also like the notion that there was like these memes going that were like, oh, I've been waiting all my life for this. People that are working from like, they're all constantly on a computer anyway. It's like, oh, I have to work from a computer all day long at home. It's like, welcome to my world as like an artist or designer.
Yeah, right, exactly. It's yeah, I definitely did my fair share of remote work. You know, I traveled a lot actually during the pandemic. Like I would,
Where'd you go?
well, I would, I would, me and my ex-partner would mask up. We would go to a place. We would quarantine. We would test. We would wait, get results, join a pod, be in that pod for like a few weeks, and then we would rinse
Wow.
and repeat. Yeah, and you know, it was kind of nice. Like no one was on airplanes. Flights were dirt cheap. Um, you know, if you were reading the science behind, like, you know, airports were definitely a clusterfuck of COVID, but airplanes themselves are actually pretty well. You know, it's all about air circulation, and you know, we just like double masked, you know, it's
Yeah.
like a mask and then like a face scarf mask thingy over the N95. And, you know, I've tested like 15, 20 times during this experience the last year, and I have not had COVID. So
Wow. That's
lucky
amazing.
me, I'm all vaccinated.
Yeah.
So knock on wood, won't get COVID,
Me,
but
me too. We're vaccinated here. Yeah. It's good. No,
LA's
that's
on lockdown
amazing.
again. That's what I heard.
Yeah, we're up on the rise again with the new variant. So we'll see how this plays out. I think, the problem was like everybody needed to get out. Everybody needed to go back to their lives, just even if it's just somewhat. But then the variant hits and it's so much more uh
Virulent.
easier, yeah, easier to get it. So contagious. They say like you could be around somebody only so many seconds and get it.
Yeah,
um
yeah. You know, when that started happening, everybody was like, "Oh shit, are these vaccines gonna work?" And like, you know, I got the Johnson and Johnson, which is kind of like, you know,
oh no.
it was based on like OG technology. It was kind of like, you know, it was a one and done. It's like, is this shit really gonna work? But evidently, it's 90% effective. So that's what the Johnson and Johnson is saying, and who knows? But I actually considered getting like the AstraZeneca or Moderna, or you know, like another vaccine that was based on the
Yeah,
mRNA, just so I could like mix it up. And you know, but I don't know. I don't think I'm going to do that. If
I don't know if you can
everything I've
take
read has
more.
said that J&J is actually very effective as well. So all of them are pretty effective against
They're all pretty effective, and
the
the
flu.
only problem now they're saying with the new one is that it's not as it is effective in the new strain. It's just not as effective. And I don't think they really know what the percentage is, because I'm reading one and it's like it's 67. And then another one's like, no, it's only 46 or something. And
What?
like, and then another one's like, oh no, it's like 90% effective. Like it's just all over the
Right.
place. I'm
Yeah.
like, I don't think anybody knows right now. I think it's too soon.
Well, I gotta go. I gotta go back to the BVI's next week. We're doing an installation out there, and yeah, it's like I had to get tested today. I got tested. The turnaround's like 12 hours now, which is great.
Yeah,
So you
that's really
get the little
fantastic.
nose swabby, and then 12 hours later you get a text. Um, actually, I got one 2 days ago as well, but 2 days ago was more than 5 days before my flight. So I had to time it, and I timed it wrong, so I had to go again today. But there's no wait; they're free, and they turn around in like no time. So
Yes, yeah. Yeah, although I have to say that I had a friend's mom got COVID, and she knew it because the whole family got COVID, and
no,
she got tested, came out negative. She got tested, and even though the whole family was getting tested, they had it. And then she got tested again, and she didn't have it. She got tested. She then ended up going to the hospital. They were testing her, and it still was negative. It took them 5 testings to come out positive.
holy shit! And was she symptomatic like while that was all happening?
Yeah, yeah. I mean, they're like, I don't get this.
Well, you
This is
clearly have COVID.
strange.
Let's run this
Yeah.
again. Wow.
And so I don't know if those tests also are, maybe it was just a fluke. Like maybe there's just that 1% that maybe it's just not, I mean, who knows? I feel
Yeah, I
like
mean, people spit out percentages and like blah blah blah. These are all physical things, and there's like there's like they're wiggly. They're not
they're not
absolute,
concrete.
not
Yeah.
digital. You know, this is like a Q-tip in your nostril, and then like hopefully you pick up the particles.
Yeah,
Yeah.
and it's not like a doctor's doing them anymore, or a nurse. It's a, you're doing them by yourself. So
Mine was a nurse. Mine was a nursing student. Said so on her
Oh,
badge.
really? Oh,
I
well,
am a
that's
nursing
good.
student. Like, yeah, cool. Well,
I've only done the drive-through one, so you're doing them yourself.
yeah. Well, no. I did mine in a drive-through, but they definitely did it for you.
Oh, really? Oh,
Yeah.
mine they did.
She was kind of gentle too. I was like, aren't you supposed to put that up a little further? But she knew what she was doing, so it was fine. And this is the second test in 2 days, so I'm guessing, and I'm vaccinated. I'm
I
feeling,
think you're fine.
I'm feeling pretty safe.
Yeah, you're safe.
Really, it's just a
Totally.
pain in the ass, and then I got to sit on airplanes for like 20 hours to get to the British Virgin Islands. They're experiencing a massive outbreak because no one there believes in vaccines, and yeah, so
Oh, I
it's
didn't know that. They don't believe in vaccines?
no, it's a weird culture. It's a weird yeah, it's just a weird place, and there's a very very high um I think they've got like they have tons of vaccines, and they were really pushing it for a while. The last time I went, there was like this huge public outreach campaign to get people vaccinated, because they're like, we have all the vaccines, come in and get the vaccine. But like no one no one was getting them. And I actually spoke to people on the islands, and they were just like, yeah, we're gonna wait and see, wait and see. And it's like, all right, well, i I'm very happy with my choice to get a vaccine.
Yes. No,
Yeah.
I believe in vaccines because that's the only way we're going to be able to end this is, if we all get vaccinated. I hate to say it, but that's the only way. It's our only answer. I mean, unless you can't because there's like a physical thing. I mean, but
Yeah, well,
and there are some people like that.
like, I feel like it's safe to say science is our religion, right? It's like you've got all
Yeah.
these that's what science is. It's a belief system, right? And it's like you've got all these people all over the world with very different belief systems, and science is just one. And like, yes, like I'm right there with you, like science, that's my truth. But it's not everybody's truth. And it's like, all right, well, you know.
I like to be well informed.
Yeah, yeah, no, me too.
I think it's funny that there was this meme. There's another meme, but it was like it had this picture of a doctor or something. It's like, yeah, this doctor, went to, did all of this, college work, went to get their medical degree, and then did all this research, worked as a research assistant, then did their own research, and then did this, and then published something, but it went through all the scrutiny, and then finally, and then finally this like gets published in this sort of, thing, to only have somebody who was like not paying attention in science class go on the internet and say like, I don't believe it. It's
Right. Yeah, I mean, well, that's a symptom of our time as well, where essentially, like back in the day, you had a few media outlets which established the story.
Yeah.
Like the story of the world is this is the story. And now the story is fragmented beyond recognition, and you can pick and choose any story you want. Literally, there's like
Everybody is
a
a critic.
million stories.
It
Exactly.
opens up.
So there is no cohesive story, and that we're seeing the fallout. We're seeing
Disinformation, that's the other problem. Like people don't understand, what's, oh gosh, the documentary. I don't know if you saw it. It's so
yeah, I
good
did.
on
It's
social media.
The Social Dilemma.
Yes, it was so good. And even though it's like we kind of already knew everything that was in that, it was just nice to see it, exactly what was going on. And
Yeah, they did a great job.
they did a great job. And that's also, I think, part of the problem is like when people are believing these deep fake videos, because I think part of it is ignorance, that they don't understand like the technology that we have today can easily trick people. But I think, okay,
Well, it's
so
still
like,
people tricking people.
yeah,
There's
it's
a
people
lot of
tricking
really
people.
convincing bullshit artists out there.
Yeah.
There are, and they're just using new media, like social media and the internet, quote unquote, to spread their message.
Yes,
But, like
exactly. Well,
charismatic, compelling bullshit artists have existed throughout time. It's just really easy to talk and hear them now.
yeah. But it's like, but with deep fake videos and things that are going on right now, it's so easy for people to get wrapped up into them because they're actually seeing these videos rather than just like hearsay. But they don't. I don't think a lot of people understand what a deepfake video is. Like, I mean, of course, like people like you and me, like we're involved in the arts and the creatives, and also the and understanding technology, and we use technology, and we understand what's out there. It's part of our work. It's part of our nature. I think there is that, but I feel like an average person that does not have anything to do with technology, is not really informed, can look at a deepfake video instantly and think that that's real, and then that gets shared to their friends and those friends, and that's a huge issue. It's like there's
I
no way
agree
to
with
even
you. That
stop
is,
those things.
I feel like there's so much, like people are like so scared of deepfake, and it is a super scary technology because of how it fits in with the current.
Ethics.
Yeah,
Yeah.
but I
You
haven't like
can
there's been no
buy people now. You buy these fake people. You know?
I haven't seen like there has been, we're waiting for like the deep fake disaster, right? Like the
Yes.
deep fake
To
oh,
expose it at least, right?
right, or to launch it into the super, like there's been no deep fake catastrophe yet. There
Yeah.
probably will be, and then everybody will be like, holy shit, like what
You
the
know what
fuck.
I was thinking the other day? Actually, it's funny you're saying this, because I was thinking, literally, I was probably thinking about it yesterday or the day before. And what if there was a film and somebody put as an actress and created that, through, like it's not real. I mean, already models are doing that, but like a real actress, and using social media that was all fake, everything was fake, and build her up as like one of those, big celebrities, and people think that they're real, because you could do that. You could
You could
follow around a
absolutely do that.
person.
You
You
could totally
could
do that,
you
like
could
a
do
human
video. You could
personality.
do, yeah.
Yeah, yeah.
And then all of a sudden it completely collapses, and people find out that it's fake, and you're like, wait, no, I have been following. I'm this huge fan of this,
Isn't, I thought there was
celebrity.
something like there was some K-pop phenomenon. Like I am
Yes,
so far outside of that world, but like somehow on the peripheral of my awareness,
they did.
thought,
Yeah.
yeah, I thought there was some virtual like K-pop star. Maybe I'm wrong. I don't know.
There's been models, like there was this one model who is, I mean, been a bunch of them, but there was one in particular, and I read about that, like there was this other model, and they were having this fight, but they found out that one was fake, and she
Oh
was
my
trying to
God.
expose it, but then I think both of them were fake, and they were doing that on purpose, and it was just like one person.
So there's been some really interesting art pieces done with deepfakes. And
Yeah.
I have seen that where it's like there's a lot of like artists kind of like punking the world with these deepfake like spoofs almost.
Yeah,
You know what I mean?
yeah,
Like
that's a
they're
great,
like,
yeah.
it's like they'll like have Obama like fucking dancing or something, or whatever it is. But they're definitely, I've seen that happen a number of times, and it is like kind of it's a interesting medium where it's like,
Yeah.
okay, well, and there's like a comedian who's like all about the deep fakes. He's actually hilarious. I can't remember his name, but he's like, yeah, all about the deep fakes, and he's like just does ridiculous shit with deep fakes. It's
I'd
kind of
like to know. Tell me afterwards if you think of
yeah,
him. I want to know.
just Google it, like comedian deep fake. Like I can't remember his name, but I don't like follow him or anything, but I've seen his work and it's pretty funny. It's but it's social commentary. You know what I mean? It's like he
Yeah.
uses deep fakes to do ridiculous things with iconic people, and then you're like, oh my God, like obviously it's fake, and that's hilarious.
I think we're going to see a lot of that in the future. I think that's where we're kind of heading, because everything is about faking the real life, you know?
Yeah, that ties into what we were talking about earlier. I mean, it really is. It's a blend of the digital and the real. And
Real,
what is more of a blend than a deep fake?
fake. Yeah.
Yeah. It's funny because like you notice things that really take off, things that really gain traction are things that really trick your brain in that blurry area between real and virtual. And if something is completely virtual, it's like, whatever. If something's real, you're like, yeah, that's real. But if something's in between and like logically it's fake, but your brain is like, that looks so real. That's where that is like, it
The
seems like that's where the
uncanny.
compelling, yeah,
Yeah.
that's where the hook is. And that's where like
The uncanny valley. That is where
Is
the
that the term for
Japanese have
that?
been, yeah, the Japanese have been talking about that for a really long time. It's called the uncanny valley. It's like an actual, if you look at it on a graph, they talk about this. There's a point where real and like the simulated, what is fake, blends together, and in that moment you have the uncanny feeling. And that's what they talk about, is like it can't be too fake and it can't be too real to give you that,
Tiffany, all your work is in the uncanny. I'm like sitting here just like, because you're not on video, I'm just like staring at your portfolio. I'm like, all of this shit is in the uncanny valley, like urban devotion, like all of these things are, it's like clearly a human, but it's like, is it a human or is it a robot? Like, what is going on?
That is exactly what I'm doing. Actually, I try to always blend those things to see how far I can push, like what the uncanny valley really is. Like, where's that point? Especially with
Yeah.
this new work, because I mean, you're in a virtual space, but yet you are seeing me live, and I definitely want to trick the brain into thinking like, okay, I'm really interacting with somebody, and they're really there physically, which is more than just an avatar you're interacting with, because it's going to be a volumetric capture. So my movements, everything, that's going to be real time. That's going to be real in essence. But at the same time, it's mediated presence,
Right.
so it's going through all these filters, all of these things to bring you into this, exactly, the uncanny valley. So hopefully,
So what form are you going to take? Like, what are you going to look like in there?
I have images that I already shot. It's I'm in this nude colored leather suit. It's real leather, and it has a sort of translucent part in the face. So even during the performance, depending on how you interact with me, I'm going to blur parts of my body. So if it's
Interesting.
sort of negative, or there's something that maybe our actions and gestures are not, are negative in some way, then I can blur my body. I can, and it's a lot to do with like the ambiguous nature of just doing these sort of social platforms, and how we are blurring parts of our body. We are hiding and concealing parts of ourselves, our profiles and everything, but we're also revealing parts of ourselves too. So depending on how we want to interact with the real world.
Yeah, that's super cool. That's really cool. So, and when is your performance happening?
It's July 29th, and
Oh my God, it's coming right up.
yeah, yeah.
You ready for
And
it?
yeah, we're working on it. Actually, I should say this, it's also a collaboration with Dolce Viarga. I hope I'm saying her name right, her last name right. I'm sometimes bad at pronouncing. And longtime collaborator, Joseph Bashara. He's been doing my sound design for me for, I don't know, 20 years.
Wow.
So he's amazing. He's a great composer for like The Conjuring and so many amazing horror films. So I have to just shout out to them, like honored to work with both of them, and this wouldn't be happening without them. So
That's cool. That's cool. You got to have like a good team. You really do. It's the past month has been really difficult. It's been like a very much like a transition period of the people in my life. And yeah, like on the personal side and on the professional side. And I've started working with like all of these new people who are fucking amazing. And, in a way, it's exactly what I need, what my company needs to move forward. Right.
yeah,
But it's also
yeah,
really unsettling. Like I feel so ungrounded. Do you know what I mean?
yeah, yeah.
It's just like, it's nice to have stability, like people that you've known for 20 years. Like some of the podcasts I've done on this, on the Luminous Arts have been with, Toshi Hu, is a friend of mine I met him when I was 18 or 17. It's fucking
Oh
crazy,
wow.
and it's just like people like that who you've known forever, even if they're not in your life constantly. It's like, you're just, oh yeah,
Yeah, yeah. That's
and
very
it's,
cool.
yeah, it's funny how like the older you get, the more you see people grow up, you know, you're like, they like change, and you get older together, and you're like, oh yeah, this person like still doing cool shit.
And
It's
also
like,
when
oh
you
yeah,
get older too, you don't want to have people in your life that you're like, you know what? Like it's really important to keep a good energy in your life, and to really try to focus with the people that I don't know, try to bring you, you know, like more of a tribe. Like you really find your
Yeah.
tribe, I think, when you get older.
Yeah.
I think when
Tolerance
you're
for like,
younger, you're like, I have a bunch of tribes, you know?
right.
You're like, everyone's a tribe, you know? And then
Yeah.
when you get older, you're like, no, I have my tribe.
Yeah. I'm still very interested in exploring different groups of people and,
Me too,
bringing
yeah.
people in but
I'm always open to new people, but you always have to also be like, okay, is this, you know, this is like this, you know, a good energy and
yeah, I'm very
yeah.
aware of like what I need in my life and like the kind of energy,
Yeah,
the kind of personality that, you get more selective about who you let into your life. And that's a good
definitely.
thing.
That's a good thing.
Yeah, it's like your bullshit detector goes way up, your filter goes way up. You're like, okay, I mean, it's like whatever. Everybody is doing their thing, and that's awesome. But it's like you have a choice on who you bring into your life, and that's
Yeah, your existence. Yes, definitely. I think a lot too when you know, you're going through the pandemic, it's like you start to really feel that like, okay, you know, yeah, I guess you kind of think things are put into perspective a lot.
yeah. Well, I think
Yeah.
that for us, it was very much like my tribe became a family, and we
Yeah,
just
yeah.
really, we potted up, and that was really
That's
cool to see
beautiful.
how, because you also saw so many groups of people like self-destruct, and so many people self-destruct and get sucked into like the negative vortex of like despair, and then other people thrived, and other pods and groups of people thrived, and it was just interesting to see that. And it's like, oh, okay, like come apocalypse time, I know what's up. I know who I'm hanging out with.
Definitely, definitely. So yeah. No, it's been an interesting time. It's a, you know, um, especially to think about uh, you know, things moving so fast oh, what do you think of NFTs?
Fucking know. I understand what they are. I think it's really cool to be able to tokenize virtual things with
Yeah.
permanence. I think that concept is so long overdue, where it's like, no, 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 this copy of a digital thing is unique, and it's associated with a unique identifier. And that's
Yeah.
what's needed to happen in order to put value on virtual art. And so much of the world is going virtual. It's like, yeah, of course we need to figure out a way to do this. I don't I don't like I don't know if NFTs apply to my art. I don't, because like all my shit is physical. You know what I mean? Like there's a
Yeah,
virtual
yeah.
component to it in the programming, but like I couldn't put an NF I couldn't like can you make an NFT out of a look that you're expressing on a completely unique installation? You are doing NFTs. Like how does that work?
Yeah, I'm on the foundation platform. You know, I thought it was interesting because for me, it was a new medium to work with. It was something and a new digital form to work with.
Yeah.
And the first piece I did that was my genesis, um, I wanted to flip the idea of like that something was physical becoming digital.
So wait, are these the things
So
in your store?
was that?
Are these NFTs, these things, like I'm in your store section? Are these like
No, I think I need to like update my store and put like my NFTs up there as well. But if you go to my contact page, I think I have my NFT profile on
okay, yeah,
there.
yeah, yeah, I see it. So like what does it mean? What is this? Like if I like plop down one Ethereum for proximity cinema number 2, is that NFT representative of a video of the performance? Like what
Yeah, so I
is it
took a
that
clip.
you are tokenizing?
Yeah, I took a clip. I made a short video of my work, and so just a clip of it I put on there. I made an NFT out of that, and I think it worked really well.
Cool.
Yeah, and my genesis, which is like the first one I did, is so what I did is like flipped it where, you know, instead of something that was you know, something that was physical then is to be digitized, I did the opposite. So you would buy the NFT and it would then I would perform. So initiate a performance, so initiate a future event, and I would initiate something that's actually physical.
Oh, interesting.
So
Interesting. But does that work
very
with
meta.
Can you do that? Like, can you make an NFT out of a physical performance? I guess you can. It's like, why not?
Yeah, I don't know. I'm testing it to see what if it works, or if it. I'm kind of making NFTs about NFTs.
Right.
Like when I'm doing them, I'm like thinking like this is an interesting thing to talk about. It's just like a topic too. Like conceptually, it's like this is a really interesting time that we can, think about like the platform and what's going on, and it's really about we go back to that like relationship of the physical and the virtual. And I think that's why I'm interested in NFTs, is because it's actually making a platform for that, but it's also it's also a market. And how does that market kind of work within future events, or and that's why I said like ritual practices, because it's like because I'm going to continue it as a series, but it's also like a ritual, because it's like I'm going to be doing more than one and they become a ritual practice. And like how that gets tokenized, can you also tokenize like a ritual practice, like what is that?
Yeah.
I'm sort of questioning how far we can push the boundaries of performance and NFTs. So,
It's cool. It's a really
and
cool, it's a cool concept. And I'm fascinated to understand the answer or to see the outcome.
yeah, and my new performance too, Unseen, I'm actually going to tokenize or create NFTs from the performance as well. So the interactions are going to become NFTs later on.
Oh, interesting. Yeah, this thing that you're doing, like that is very, I can see how that would be NFTable for sure.
Yeah, yeah. A completely different set of artists are now involved within the art market and with involved into the art auction houses and stuff. So, and I
Well, I
think it
remember
opens up for
there
more
was
media
such
art.
disdain around digital art of all kinds in the fine
Yeah.
art world. And then that,
Well, I think because the biggest problem, I think, and I've gotten this question from collectors many times, is like, so if it breaks down, what do I do with it? So there's always that question of how long is the piece going to last, and it's all about archival. Like when you buy a painting, it's archival; it's going to outlive you.
right.
Some others like they don't, depending on the materials you use, but.
Yeah.
But in general, there's the idea of video, and there was always this question too. I remember when I was doing video art years ago, and I remember talking to a collector, and they're like, "Yeah, but it's a file, so you're selling the file, but can't somebody copy and paste it?" And I'm like, "Well, you're not supposed to." But you
Right.
lock the file, and there's all of these things, so. And to go through all of these steps about like what do I get, and what is the actual art of it, like the product. So there's all those questions. I think that with now what's happening is people also understanding that the file itself is the artwork.
The arrangement of bits. Well, I mean,
The
yeah,
arrangement of
absolutely.
bits.
Yeah, I mean,
So
there is art I mean, obviously there is art to the arrangement of bits, I mean, art is what is art is creativity, and the digital medium is, or the digital environment is rife with mediums to create art. I'm looking at your pieces though, and it's like I was listening to 99% Invisible the other day, and there was like this piece about this um it was a sculpture from India that was stolen by the British back in like the 1800s or 1700s during colonial Britain or whatever. And that sculpture had like a music box inside it, right? And it was like this really complex mechanism where you like turn a crank and there was like a billows that like blew air past all these flutes, and like that's new media art. from back in the day, right? And that's in a museum. So
It's
like,
kinetic.
why
Yeah.
can't your suit be in a museum?
Oh no, my suits have been in museums.
Right.
Yeah,
Yeah.
exactly.
So that
Exactly.
you can have physical digital
The
art
art.
that is
Yes.
in that is collector worthy and you know put in
Well,
museums.
it is very interesting though, because you also think about like Namjoon Pike, right? Who
Oh
is
my God,
such
such
an
a yeah.
amazing, one of my favorite artists, inspiring.
I can
Um,
totally see his work in your work. Oh my God, now that you
yeah.
say that, I'm just like, oh yeah.
You can't unsee it now.
No, 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 no. I definitely can see it.
So yeah, with Namjoon Pike's work, I have spoken with collectors that have had, and the problem that comes is like even like a foundation. I remember talking to one of the foundations that's here in LA, about the foundation, but they said that they actually have somebody that like works on all their new media pieces. And the problem that's happening now with Namjoon Pike's work is like the pieces, like you can't find them anymore. And that it's always been that way, but you could at least find like old parts and all that. But now that is actually really hard to find. And at some
Like
point,
replacement pieces.
exactly, at some point in the near future, like what are they going to do? I mean, they're trying to like fabricate things and they're trying to, but it's going to get to the point like all of it will have to be redone. But I wonder if that's like the same sort of discussion between, when you look at a painting that's completely disintegrating, they have to, in a way, repaint it. What's the difference in restoration and oh my God, I'm forgetting restoration and trying to restore the painting versus actually,
Right.
so
Yeah, I
are
think
they
that
going to be
digital
able to, I mean, is it still
electronic
the
art,
same piece?
electronic art,
You update the technology or not?
I would say my own personal opinion on this for what it's worth, which is not much, but like I would say that replacing components on a piece of electronic art is the equivalent of replacing nerve cells in your brain. Still the same person,
Yeah.
it's all about the
Yeah.
arrangement of
Yeah, I agree on that one.
particles and it's yeah.
Although it will have a different look, because if you think about it, when you think about screens,
Oh, I know.
the screens that he used, I mean, they don't, there's a materiality to it that's quite beautiful.
Yeah. Yeah.
And especially with like with the Buddha sitting and looking at the TV, I mean, like the size of that television monitor and everything. I don't know, I guess it's more into like they can recreate everything, and materialize it from
No, but you're right. That
scratch.
is that is essentially like very ephemeral. It's very
Yeah.
ephemeral art where it's like you can only have a fucking TV tube on for so many hours before it's not going to turn on anymore.
Yep.
And that's, you can, yeah, that's a good question. It's like I think a lot of what we do in today's world is incredibly ephemeral, right? Like think
Mhm.
about DVDs, man. Like people
Oh,
laugh. They're like
yeah.
DVDs. Oh my God, I remember that. It's ancient tech. It's like it's fucking 5 years old. You know what I mean? It's like we need as a society to come up with more permanent means of storing and excuse me, you know, preserving our culture because it's so temporal,
It is.
so temporary. It's just like blink of an eye, it's gone. And
But we've been doing that for a while, and it's just we're not we need to be more sustainable. Even just a microwave or refrigerator. I mean, in the 50s they made a refrigerator outlive you. And now
yeah,
a refrigerator dies in like 10 years, and it's such a waste. It's such
yeah,
and clothing too. Clothing is like that. Like hardly any people make sustainable clothing anymore. It's just completely changed the way even clothing is. And clothing should last too. I mean, I have something that's probably, I don't know, I've had for over 20 years, and it still looks good. If you treat it nicely, but you buy something today and in a year or two, it's just like,
oh yeah,
it
yeah,
just
yeah,
falls
yeah.
apart. I mean, it's like all of this stuff is like we're a society of like a temporal society. Or, you're right. It's like all we're doing is like it's about even like the way our attention span is, and it's the throwaway fashion. It's oh, there's a trend here, and now trends are just faster and faster too, that they're quicker.
Yeah. Well, we've all
And
seen those graphs, you know, how like
yeah.
it's Moore's law, but applied to society. And it's like, you know, what's at the end of that curve? Like, no one knows. You know, are we gonna like become a butterfly or something? Or like what's gonna happen? You know, because like it's fucking
It's
clearly it's
here.
yeah, it's like the singularity, that concept of the singularity is really fascinating
Yeah.
to me because it's like it's so clear, like we're so clearly going somewhere. And that somewhere is this point where like that breakneck speed crescendos in some way, like it outstrips our ability as human animals, as meat animals, do you know what I mean, to like deal with it, or to
Hmm.
yeah, or yeah, or AI comes and whatever the fuck AI is gonna do. But
Oh, I
you know what I
know.
mean, it's like the concept
Yeah.
of singularity, that's what we're describing, is like that ever increasing pace of advancement.
Oh, it's just going faster and faster. I mean, I feel like also because we've been stuck indoors, I also think tech is going even more. There's more exposure because we're inside. We're sharing more through, social media and through other things. And that's one of the things that inspired me with my new piece too. It's just like, wow, we are just going. There's also so much more aesthetics. I think that's being thrown at us all the time, and what they mean, and they actually maybe don't have any meaning anymore because we're seeing so much and so much is moving that we don't stop and actually look at what it actually means. And
You
does
know
it
what's
have? Does it?
you know what's disappointing to me is
Mhm.
the loss of localized aesthetics. So for example,
Yes.
when I was growing up, the music scene in a particular geographical location was very unique to that geographical location because the
True.
medium transmission of that thought virus was a physical disc. You know what I mean? And
Yes.
now it's like there is no localized, I mean, there are localized aesthetics, but it's like it's almost like localized on the topic of interest. You know what I mean? Like me and you are in the same local aesthetic because we're both new media artists. Whereas like somebody sitting three, you know, office chairs down from me doesn't give a rat's ass about that.
Right.
And they might as well be in a different city because their interests and their aesthetic are completely different.
That's true. That's true. It's also, yeah, I mean, to go with your point too, like when you would think about traveling maybe like 10 years ago and you would see, younger generation, it seems more and more like that there aren't localized like areas that are like, oh, they are from here, they're from this area and they have this aesthetic. It's now like the aesthetic of the internet.
Right, because we're
Everything is so
all
fast.
virtualized. The
Yep.
internet has essentially eliminated the distance factor and the separation of geography. So you've got people in, yeah, it's breaking down on topic of interest. That's why you've got like, you know, you've got like this whole anti-vax thing is
Hmm.
spreading not along geographical lines, but on the tendency for certain people to fall into whatever neural trap that is. Do you know what I
Belief
mean? Like fake news and
systems.
conspiracy. Yeah.
Yeah, it's belief systems. It's belief systems are the things that like affect in the way in which we, you know,
Right.
um, if they
Yeah. It's
believe,
super, super interesting. It's also disappointing. Like
yeah,
I want to, I'm like really into traveling. And I can
me
tell
too.
you something that is incredibly disheartening for me is to like go to like Tulum, for example, and see that shit show. And it's just like, what the fuck is going on here? We're in Mexico and like, this was like such a beautiful spot. And like, what is going on? This is like crypto bros, you know? And I think that the cost of travel has plummeted. The, the, the barrier to transmission of thoughts and ideas has crumbled. So there is no real barriers between transmitting your thoughts, which is a good thing, but it also results in this kind of homogenization of thought process, right?
And oversaturation.
Yeah.
It's like
Yeah.
there's just so much oversaturation of just, almost like we don't. we're not even critical of anything that we put out there anymore. It's just like we're just putting everything out there all at once. And yeah, I mean, aesthetically,
Have
that's
you
what.
seen Bo Burnham's stand up special? He does this. It is
No.
so fucking good, man. You have to watch. It's on Netflix, I think. It is brilliant. Like he's a
Who
stand.
is this?
His name is Bo Burnham, I think. I think that's his
Bo
name. Bo Burnham.
Burnham.
Bo Burnham. Bo Burn. Yeah, yeah. Bo
Bo Burnham.
Burnham. Inside is the name of the thing. But watch the special. It's brilliant. It really is brilliant. But he sings this song. It's like a little bit of everything all of the time, and I'm like, oh my god, it's so timely. It's like
It's so timely.
we're gonna look back on it and be like, wow, this encapsulates the experience
This
of
is the anthem right now.
it is. But yeah, watch that because it's really fucking cool. I was just
Yes,
like, oh
yeah.
my god, this guy, like I had never even heard of him, and then I was just like, I'm gonna watch this, and it's just like, yeah,
I'm going to see that. I'm going
it's
to see
really good.
that. I know, that's also interesting too, having, a child that's, I have a toddler, and to see him even just at like 2 years of age, he could take my phone and find the app that he wants to see
Yeah,
at 2. I mean, even before then, it was just like, oh my gosh. And I
we are the
remember
last
this.
digital pilgrims. That's what
Yeah.
I've heard that phrase. Like our generation, there
Yep.
are no more digital like immigrants. We're
Babies.
all like
Yeah.
everybody is a digital native now,
Yeah. We were the crossover of analog to digital.
which is kind of a cool time to be alive.
Yeah. We
You know,
understand both of them. I mean, I remember trying to figure out how to go to point A to point B, and you don't have MapQuest.
oh my god. Well, I remember MapQuest when it was like a printout.
Yeah, it's a printout. Or you had the book. I forgot what the book was. The book.
They have
And
a
you would
book.
find where the book was. Oh gosh, yeah, we had the. What was the book called? It had a name, and everybody had it. Well, no more. Most people had the book, and you would look up your, okay, this is the area, and you had to look up that area and find it. But
Interesting. You know what I saw? I actually the last time I was in the BVI's, we like stumbled across a geocache. It was the coolest thing. We were out on this island. We had like kayaked out there, and I scrambled up this steep cliff, right, to this thing that looked kind of like a cave, and I was like, I wonder what's in here. And there was like a little pelican case, and I'm like, whoa. And there was like it was clearly like somebody had put it, like made like a little rock altar, and then I opened it up, and there was like a Polaroid camera, or not a Polaroid, like an old click and develop snap camera, and a little journal. And I was just like, this is so cool.
wow,
I know. I'm like,
that's amazing.
yeah, I'm like, I want to do that. I want to drop some. I'm always exploring like weird places. I would
Time
like to.
capsules are amazing. I always thought time capsules were amazing since I was a child. I
Yeah.
just like the idea of like putting something in there that represents that particular time, and in 50 years, if somebody opens that up, what is that? What represents right now? I mean, if we were to take a time capsule right now, what would you put in it?
I'm not sure, but I think that like abandoned buildings are the closest thing I've come across to time
Yeah,
capsules. Like,
yeah,
have you ever been in a building that hasn't been occupied in like a long fucking time? It's really,
yes.
really,
Oh,
it's a
it's
special,
freaky.
unique feel. It is, but it's like it's this feeling of genuine discovery, and you're like, wow, like I feel like I'm actually exploring something and discovering something new. Um, yeah, I'm really obsessed with that. I'm obsessed with abandoned places. And I think that like, imagine if you could like seal up your house, like right now, you just leave, shut the door, no one, so the next person who came in was 50 years from now. That would be cool, right? That would be a snapshot into your life,
That's true.
into a
Yeah,
slice of time. I don't
yeah,
know how to fill a time capsule with that, but it's like
yeah,
the place that somebody lives, that somebody occupies, like the little knickknacks, like the fucking, things on the floor, the things in the books in the shelf, like all of that paints a picture.
yeah. Oh no, definitely, definitely. How do we live? What were we doing? I think a lot has to do though with the tech that we use. I'm sure if you left your computer and that person 50 years from now, I'm like, they were using computers back
I
then.
know, man.
There's not going to be computers.
No, it's gonna be inside our brains.
Brain.
I mean, they're
Yeah,
just
it's
gonna
going to
be
be
like, why is
implemented.
this computer out here? I don't get it.
Yeah.
Like,
What is this thing?
how do I plug my brain into this thing? It doesn't work. It's broken.
But the other thing too is that, information is already at our fingertips, right? Just the notion of Google is so easy to understand a topic or to research a topic. What would that look in 50 years? We would already know it because it's already in our brain, it's already in our mind. So it would just be already there in front of us.
Yeah.
And
Well, I
it's
mean,
so
that's like,
connected to our mind.
there are plenty of futurists thinking about that. And I love that shit. It's like, the merging of this digital, I mean, it's so clearly, it's the trajectory of digital technology points straight at our brains, right?
Yeah.
It's like a computer was a fucking warehouse, and
A
then it was
computer
a
resembles
human.
our brain. I mean, that's why we say things like,
I know, but it's just been getting closer and closer to our brain, right?
yeah.
And
Oh
then like
yeah.
you got the laptop, you got the cell phone, you got the Google glasses, like we're wearing the smartwatch. It's like, obviously this thing is
Which is
walking slowly
recording our
towards us.
heartbeat or,
Yeah.
taking our measurements and yeah, exactly. Yeah.
It just points to our bodies. Like the evolution of computers points squarely at our bodies and brains.
It's getting closer and closer to our not only our physical, but it's like also our mental and the
Yeah,
inside of the
well,
body.
as they
Yeah.
get closer, it's like the line that separates those two things
Boundaries
is
go
blurring, and
away.
that's what we're seeing now. It's like, maybe there is another layer of evolution that we're going to live through where we really do, we really like experience the digital integration, and that'll be our grandkids who like become like, they're like born with that shit.
Yeah.
Like, don't know what it's not like to
I
have a smartphone inside their brain. You know what I mean? Like,
I think we are going to witness all of that. I
I
think
do
our
too.
generation. I think our generation is going to witness a lot.
Well, don't smoke and take your vitamins, and maybe you'll live longer.
I think we are going to be the most transformative generation because we'll be going from analog to digital to, implementation.
Yeah. Well, it's cool to be able to sit here and make art and make commentary about it. It
Yeah.
really is.
Well, we're the reflection of society. So
Yeah. So I have to call it pretty soon because I have a
yes.
thing that I got to do at 5. I want to get a workout in before my evening commences. But dude, I really enjoyed this. This is one of like the better conversations that I've had on this podcast. I'm really glad that we got to sit down.
Me too. Me too. No, definitely, definitely. It's good to hear that.
Yeah,
Thank
absolutely.
you.
Absolutely. So what
I
I'm going to try and do,
enjoyed.
I'm going to try and get this thing out in the next like 10 days or so. So that you have a chance to get it on, to put it out there.
Definitely.
Cool. It usually takes
Awesome.
me a minute, but I'll like step on the gas. It's been a while since I released one anyway, so I need to anyway.
I know how that is. It's like, oh, wait a minute. No, it's been an enjoy talking to you, and I hope we keep in touch because I enjoyed this conversation very
Yeah, we
much.
know each other now, man. Like we're friends. Like if I'm in LA, I'll give you a call. Like
Definitely.
see what you're doing. And if
Yeah.
you're in the
Where
Bay,
are you?
I'm in Berkeley.
Oh, you're in Berkeley. That's right. That's right. You told me. Yes, yes. Well, I used to be in San Francisco a lot, but since the pandemic, I haven't been. But
Yeah.
usually San Francisco is always like I have friends up there, so I definitely will probably be there some point in the near future.
Cool.
We'll have to like catch up in person.
Yeah, I'd like that. Get a drink, hang out.
That sounds great.
All right, cool, Tiffany. Well, take care and
You too.
enjoy your weekend. And I'll let you know as soon as this drops, and then you can push it out to your audience.
Perfect. Thank you so much.
Absolutely. I'll talk to you later.
Bye.
Bye.